All right, let's do a little test here. Test, test, test. See if you guys can hear me. Good evening, Josh. Good evening, James. See if you guys can hear me. Okay, I can hear myself on my end. We'll see if you guys can hear me. See how the sound's coming through here. So, I actually talked to one of our old compadres, or compad. I don't know what that is and what the female version is, but Rebecca will be joining us again soon. For those of you that remember Rebecca, James, Jeff, and Patrick, you guys know her. She will be she'll be joining us rather shortly. She's actually starting a business with her father-in-law, and but she's like, I haven't given up on training. I'll be back on there real soon, and she was excited to hear chart school's going. So, I think she's going to be joining us next week. So we'll see our numbers increase a bit more. All right. Whoops. I was like, why is this window not working? There we go. All right. So Parker's not here tonight, so we're going to do a special. No, I'm just kidding. I won't pick on Parker too bad, but hopefully he's watching the replay. That's the one nice thing. For those of you that happen to miss a chart school, because of our status on Twitch, they actually keep the videos for 14 days, and YouTube will begin recording them as well. I try to upload them when I can, and it'll kind of serve as an archive. So YouTube will hold them longer. Twitch holds them for 14 days. I think the quality is a little bit better, in my opinion, but it is what it is. So you guys will notice we had a little different bit of an entry song today. It's funny. I've been doing this, for over almost a year now. And I finally got an email that, I hate to say it, Ernest, but you won't hear that song anymore. Not the intro today, but our theme song is not allowed to be used anymore. I finally got an email that said that it says in some countries this video will be blocked because of copyrights. I was like, wow, it took a year for you guys to figure out I was using that song. So we won't hear Hey Now anymore. That'll be maybe we'll pipe that into a special Discord channel, but it won't be on the stream. YouTube is like, nope, and gave me the beat down on it. So I just thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into some charts here. Let me click off of, where is it? There we go. All right, so a lot of different things to talk about today. I think at this point, it's kind of funny in talking to people and seeing where the overall markets closed today. A little bit of craziness happened. Basically, I'm pretty sure the markets will end tomorrow at a high. If you guys follow Jack, Jack's like, yep, guaranteed. They're closing at an all-time high tomorrow, going into the Friday, going into the weekend. So we'll see what it does. I mean, I wouldn't say there's 100% guaranteed, but I think there's a pretty good chance that that's what's going to be the case, and I think the market's going to be a little bit crazy because of it. So, nothing out of the ordinary for Friday, again, holiday weekend, that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a good time. I definitely think there'll be some tradable things out there for us. Whoops, too loud. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right, let's jump in. So, Aussie yen. I'll send you. I'll send it to you, Ernest. So I was really excited for this one because we saw price and it was starting to breach out of the zone. We had this kind of blue magnet area, and we talked about it. It's like, hey, listen, we got this nice little pop down. It's at the bottom of it. Maybe this is the break we were looking for, and unfortunately, that's not the case. It whoops, a little bit loud. There we go. You guys can see the screen, right? Josh says screen. I'm trying to see. You guys can see the screen, right? Or is it not moving? Oh, it's moving on my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. I just kind of circled it around. I can see it. I don't know. Let me know, Josh, if you're having a problem with it. But anyway, you guys will see this, this blue area right here has been like a vacuum. But looking down on the lower time frame, you guys can see, remember where we drew the zone last week? And we said we had, or not last week, but a couple nights ago. And we said we had this trigger for the blue line at the 75.10, and we were looking for it to come over if it didn't turn and bounce. Well, look what it's done. It's bounced. It's gone all the way back up to the top level, the initiation of the move, and kind of now it's turned to flip and kind of, it's looking like it wants to head back down again. So it's pretty interesting. This is why looking at multiple time frames is pretty important. Yeah, Josh, I think it's just you. I can see it moving on both my screens, and James says it's going to for him. Maybe just refresh this page, like hit refresh. So this is why, again, looking at just larger time frames sometimes doesn't give you a true picture of what's happening. And again, we've seen this bounce back and forth, and if you guys look at it, again, we can use the trusty ruler here, and you guys can see it's been a 50 pip channel, right? From this bottom side where it literally came, and again, if you had drawn and extended this blue bar to the left, you'll see that was the top of the gap area. So it came down, it bounced, and we got our first kind of basing level, right, that established the top side. It dropped, it came back up, it went across. Again, this one hit 3 times, got a little scary, came down, hit the bottom, and now it's going all the way back up again. So this almost looks like what we saw with Brexit, how, you see the pound bouncing back and forth every day, the top channel, bottom channel, top channel, bottom channel. So interesting how this one is faded out now. So, at this point, it's definitely more on the bearish side. You're kind of seeing a red bar paint here. The larger trend obviously is still not there. It's basically just still sideways. So we'll see what we can get. You're seeing, a little bit of movement to the downside. We can take that off now. The larger spiky candles are, not my favorite thing to kind of trade into. It's a little bit harder to get, clear signal when you see this kind of mirror, this kind of up and kind of back thing. Trying to see if we had any more news tonight or anything. Not really. Kind of Thursday's basically dead at this point. Whoops. I just totally messed up my day range. There we go. I hit the wrong one. Yeah, there's nothing really. No big movers overnight. So, okay. So yeah, I mean, at this point, we're looking at what, 77 to, it's about a 15 pip win to the top side. Going into the overnight, I don't know if I would want to get short this pair necessarily now. Actually, hold on one sec. Let me pop this out. I was like, it's lagging a little bit, and typically it lags because of having too many of those up. So yeah, we'll take that out. There, the mouse is a little smoother now. Don't know that I'd be willing to take this short yet. Again, like I said, looking at the way that this formed, you guys can see there was an area basing here, level of basing here, nice little decline, and then a pop up, and then again, sideways, up, and back down again. So it is what it is. It's in a top side. I'm definitely a little bit more bearish with it. Again, I see this, I see this, having the probably, I think this has the ability to kind of race higher with the overall market tomorrow, the U.S. stock market, again, because it is linked to the yen. But again, we are at the top side of the channel, so I could be wrong. It may just bounce and head all the way back down again. And if it does, if you do get that confirmation, again, the oscillator is still positive. It's not breaking levels yet. Once it starts breaking levels, I may change my tone on that one. Maybe go, again, we're basically, you're risking 15 for 50 at this point. So the risk to reward ratio is still very, very good. But it's not, not a spectacular trade setup. Because like I said, this is, looking across, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. This is the 4th hit in, so this may be pulling back just to grab some orders. Again, snapped up, snap right back down again, grab orders in this basing area to punch a hole through the top of this one, which again, that hole would still leave us inside of this blue zone with 2 selling areas. So going into Friday, I may be a little bit more cautious with this one. Okay, let's go down to this guy. All right, so talk about a little bit of a reversal area, right? So price came all the way down. We originally drew this kind of Harry Potter kind of sideways scar. And not only did we get a gap above the zone that we were looking for, but then it's just kind of held above there, right? I was fine with this down. I was okay with this pop. I liked the way that this was forming, right? We had a lower high in here. And then all of a sudden, boom, the sucker gapped up. And again, this is PAL. I mean, there's really nothing you can, not much you can say about that one. When you have movements like that, it's, again, it's not every day that, the Fed chief is, Fed president is, speaking. He's done now. There's some good data. The markets are very, very, very happy about it. They're basically reverting back again. It is kind of interesting how it, listen to some of the commentary on it, how it's all kind of playing out. But where we are right now is you're seeing that we are inside of, let me pull this out of the way here. We are inside of this wick against the wall. So if we broke this down, you'd be able to see it over here as well. We had this down, this sideways basing, and then a pretty nice explosion out of it. These are 2 real nice candles for formations. And, again, it kind of comes straight across. And that's where we're in right now. And it's kind of stuck. Now, on the smaller time frame, again, this area got busted. It literally gapped right past it. So there's nothing we can do about that one. You guys can see this is kind of the last bit of the pullback. So this wick against the wall on a smaller time frame is what we're hitting right here. Okay. This top one, I can just get rid of it at this point. I don't need it at this point. So we have an area here, and then this is the other area that I'm looking for top side. Again, it's another situation where we had, basing, right? We had a drop sideways and then a nice explosion, nice push off of that area. So these are kind of the 2 areas I'm looking at right now. Unfortunately, they're not that far apart. This one's at 69.90, and this is at 70.16. So you're only really talking about 25, 30 pips at its best. So we're kind of in a little compacted area here. We did not get the push down again. At this point, we've come back up to grab more orders. It hasn't busted out of the top again. If you had gotten short, you'd be approaching about break even at this point. Again, you were up, 85. I mean, you were up about 80 in this one before it ran into this basing level. Okay, and again, this is the one problem. Again, it's nice when it goes all the way back to the start of the move, but what it did is it hit this pop sideways and then pop again, and that's kind of where it kind of went to. So, yeah, if you look on the 30-minute too, you can see kind of where we're squished in right now. This down and up, again, pushing down, going sideways, holding pretty well. Right above this blue, actually, right here. Again, this kind of area from here to here, if you guys look at it, the 69.56 to 69.63. This is an area I don't necessarily want to mess with. Again, we had this base here, it retested off of it, went again, and then this kind of bounce here, these 5-6 candles, those are pretty nice. So although we're getting a pop here, we're still not at the high, right? We had a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We finally burst out of it, but it's in a single candle pop up. There's been no kind of establishment of a new trend there. The oscillator did go up just because these levels were so close. We went from being at a -6 to a +5, basically because they were stacked on top of each other like steps, right? Boom, 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 boom. They're so close. So this was able to go and break, 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 break. All right, very, very fast. So again, I would just be a little bit more cautious with that one. But similar to the last one, it is in an area where selling is definitely possible. Okay. Again, this is news. You're already starting to see a retracement bit. But again, you got to look to see what the profit potential is. Just because something is in an area doesn't necessarily mean it's a good trade. Yeah, it's great that it's flipping here, but it has an area of buyers sitting, 20 pips, not even 20 pips below where it is. So what's happening is it's starting to consolidate down going into this kind of weekend, right? It's done its movement for the week and it's starting to consolidate. Now, the one thing about this pair is, again, this pair is linked with gold. A lot of talk about gold right now because, again, you mentioned that CPI. Basically, you're talking inflation. You're talking about rates and you're talking what inflation is, okay? Actually, I heard earlier today, the last time that we were getting the same economic numbers that we were now was the early 2000s, and we were in a raising rate environment. Okay, the numbers were almost exactly the same, and we were in a raising rate. Okay, but right now we're talking about more of the cutting and whether it's going to be a one and done or what, and we're basically resetting going back. So again, whenever there's that type of indecision, that's where gold comes into it as a hedge against volatility and inflation. Again, this goes with gold. Okay, so you're kind of seeing the same thing here. All right, so just keep that in mind. But again, right now we're starting to see these levels. We kind of need this to run up or down and kind of make up its mind instead of just kind of bouncing back and forth. I'd like to get back to this trending. And again, anytime we have that Thursday conversation, this is what can happen moving into the weekend. Okay, so I don't really necessarily love anything in this one. Also, New Zealand. Okay, very similar kind of chart. Again, came down. This one did complete its gray box. Okay. Again, it went all the way back down to the start. Again, this kind of wick over wick piece here, this kind of wick. It's actually, this one is a wick end clearing, which makes it a little bit more dangerous, but we drew this based off of this level, came down, touched, right? We talked about this last night because again, here's one and there's one. So we were right here and it did. It went through, it completed again, a red, green, red completion all the way to the bottom. That full grab based off of that was, where's my ruler? Okay, we can get about 32 pips there. So your risk was, rather small in this one. And again, it's not, you're not talking about a 500 pip mover, but, an overnight trade to the downside, or, I guess this took a day and a half to go through. Not too bad. Okay. All right. So where we are now. So inside of this area, you guys can see there's some descending wicks in here. Got to be a little cautious with that. None of the zones really, this one is not bad. Again, this popped up, kind of went across, and then shot back down again. Was retraced about half of the way, but this wick really kind of ruins a lot of things for me because any of the clear zones that you could have, again, over in this area, this is not bad, this is not bad, these were all cleared out. Okay, so as far as we're concerned, there's really nothing until, way up here, and that's just a little bit far for this pair. And again, I think I want to wait till price whether rallies back up or drops back down in the lower area. Again, I want to go in this bottom. You remember yesterday what we did with the fibs with 30% and 30%? We're up into the middle range, so it's kind of like a no man's land as far as things go. I'd much rather wait till we get back down into this 104.30 area or we get back up into this 105.28. And again, this kind of spiking wick is all the way up into this 105.30. So really we're waiting for entries back up here. And again, use technology. Again, you can set an alert up here. If it goes up there, it alerts you. You go back and you look at the chart. That's kind of the best case scenario there. Okay. CAD yen. Finish loading. All right. So again, CAD yen had that big spike, right? We talked about this, the big spike, the retrace back up, hit again, went all the way back down again, formed a new low, rallied all the way back up again, and we're kind of back on the top side. So it is in this wicks, formation up here, and again, it's been bouncing back and forth. This little kind of basing area, like I was looking for this as being kind of the line in the sand here. It's actually this, okay? And this is, if I had to grade this, this is like a B minus at best. Okay, I do like the fact that the wicks are getting higher and higher and higher, but there's not really much kind of force, right? I mean, look how little these things are. I mean, in fact, the wicks are bigger than the actual bodies. Typically, what we're looking for are extended range candles like we see here, right? Like this, where there's almost no wick, right? You don't like things that are like this because it shows a lot of indecision, right? I mean, it goes up and goes back, but really just kind of stays in the same exact place. This is just a bunch of those candles with a slow grind, right? But right about here, again, that's where this is, hit here, came back down and forced this way back up again. So, I mean, it's had two touches, so the next touch is most likely or, higher chance of breaking through, but you have this little backstop right here. So, interesting position. For me, I want this to rally. If we can get this to rally back up into this area, then I'd be willing to kind of go back down again because I'm not too concerned about this because it's a double wick here and then a double wick here. And then we know, this is one hit. So a lot of negatives on the downside for this one, but just because it starts to do red here, I don't know if I'm necessarily willing to start taking this short yet. I'd really like this to get back up and hit this 82.20, and then I'd be willing to take this at least back down to this 82.50 area. So again, about a 70 pip run to the downside, and you're looking at what, 23. Yeah, you're looking at about 12 pip risk for about 50 if we can touch this zone up top. Okay, looking for something along these lines, just to make sure we're on the same page. I'm looking for something there, and I would like for this then to come back down into that area. That's kind of what I'd like to see out of this. Again, not doing anything. I'll sit on my hands and wait until we get to this area. Probably won't trade it until that time. Okay. Let's look at Euro Aussie. All right, so Euro Aussie is still holding firm off of this zone. It's still grinding its way back down again. Had you been short on this one, again, the profit target is going to be down here at 106 or 160.90, which also is right about here, kind of the start of this green candle. And again, this green candle, the ATR on this one is 83.6. If you get your ruler out and measure this candle, you guys can see that this is 109. So it was over 100%. Wasn't double, so it was real close to 150% of what the ATR was. So I mean, we were close to a racetrack type trade. But if you do take the measurement from the bottom, and again, it opened and spiked up and then came right back down again, that is 160, which is 2 times the ATR. So you're kind of right in the wheelhouse as far as what a racetrack would look like. And again, that's where you start playing the retraces on it. And again, you can see it on the lower time frame here. I mean, literally spike up. Obviously, this is racetrack territory. Came up, bounced off that area, and that was where the immediate kind of retracement happened. So again, this is obviously still in play. Again, more on the 4-hour than anything else. But you guys can see it over here, right? We talked about this before where we had the entry was a little bit harder because of this big red candle. But again, had the reds, we had the gap, which kind of messed it up a little bit, and then it pushed it back down again. So most likely your entry was probably at the break of this 160.20, and you'd be riding this to the downside, right? I believe we mentioned this last night, but you're up about 86 in this one. Okay, like I said, this is a hidden pair. A lot of people don't look at it, but this one definitely has some movement in there. Not a bad pair to play. You guys can see it too. Clean line, came back up, and again, it's just grinding. Impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse, and it's starting to slow down. But if you guys look here, again, look at this area, right? This was clean. It wasn't a fast pullback like this, right? It was up, spent a lot of time here, and then finally push. And that's where it's going into right now. And again, going into the final of the week, again, if you're up 80 pips, take it out. Be done with it. At 30 pips a day, this is almost 3 days worth of profit for you right here. If you are still in this position, short from this area. If you're trailing it, okay, this is the other thing that I want to start talking about. If you're, I didn't used to talk about this as much, but if you are managing trades now, you would have kind of trailed this one down, You may have gotten stopped here if you trailed too close. Didn't really give us a low here, so that may have been why you wouldn't have. You'd probably be up in this range right here, about the 161. Actually, yeah, I'd probably be here because there's one. Actually, I'd be here. Probably this peak. I don't like that clearing wick. Probably this 161.50. Right about here is where I'd have this one. You have one top, you have another one, and it's pushed back down again. If we're able to form like after this green stops, if we're able to form a red close below, I'll move it down and hide it right above these two. Okay, I don't want to mess with that to the top side. And again, if we do get it close below, we'll be below this kind of level of basing. I think we'll get back down to this 160-80ish area with no problem. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this pair. Let's go down and look at euro pound. Finish loading. All right, so euro pound, again, we had that pop. In the last 2 days, we've done nothing, okay? If you guys look and we zoom in here, okay, we were starting to get a drive down and it kind of pulled back, but again, we're starting to form this lower side, and we'll see what it's doing. Again, on the lower time frames, you can see it. Besides this pop, and again, it went right back down to the start of this move here. Starting to get somewhat of a trend, right? Okay, we're starting to get, obviously getting the lower highs in there. We were getting lower lows until we got this, spike up, and this was just a retracement spike, right? Definitely starting to get some pushes here. This is one of those cases where this appears that it's going to break the channel, not by breaking through the bottom, but by breaking through the side of it. Okay, and you guys remember when we added an indicator on this one, right? I'll do it again for you guys. When we added the Bollinger Bands, remember, because this is what people are looking at, right? Okay, we are now starting to approach, again, next tick, this line is going to progress forward one, and it's going to be right here. So again, we've gone from the top back to the bottom, but you can see getting closer, staying its track, and getting closer. So the Bollinger Bands are also starting to pinch in, and what it's doing is it's putting a target right here for breaks of everything, okay? And again, I think tomorrow, there's a good chance we're going to end up sitting right on this dot to the downside, which would give us kind of a, is this going to start tipping? Is this going to be the change of tide? So we'll see how that one comes out. I wouldn't say anything's telltale. I mean, again, you have uptrend set up, you have sideways, downward, sideways a downward bias, sideways with downward bias. So the two lower time frames are telling us that it's starting to flip and starting to go down, more negative. This one is saying, oh, it's an uptrend setup. But again, area of sellers, things are starting to kind of roll over at this point. And again, you guys can see they're all the numbers are getting crunched in together, okay, with some consolidation. Euro yen. All right, so wait for it to load. Okay. All right, let me get Bollinger Bands off now. I was like, why is that being created? Actually, it's funny. Look, I left the Bollinger Bands were off from before, but check this out. Talk about following the center line, just staying with the moving average, right? Talk about, boring. So, all right. So where we are smack dead in the middle of this box again, okay? When we talked about this before, when we took the highs and lows on the current chart, you could take high and low here, and it is what it is. But again, taking more near term, you guys can see that we were channeling back and forth again, much like we saw on the Aussie Yen pair. But right now, again, we're still in the middle. We talked about this for the last 2 nights. We said, hey, listen, I'd really like this to get some momentum back and forth. The only thing we saw in the lower time frames was, again, we saw this retest spike down and pop off of this zone. Again, last night we were right here. Okay, we were starting to get down, and we talked about getting sucked back into this area and needing somewhat of a confirmation if we were going to take this long to the top side. And it's moved a bit. I mean, it's not a horrible trade if you guys took it, right? I mean, we're talking about 47 pips to the top side. Your risk on this one was, about 12, so it wasn't bad. When you look at the way that this approached, again, we talked about how approach is such an important thing. There is your approach, right? Here's your fast approach to the downside, okay? Here's your green, here's your red. It's kind of ugly with all the wicks, but again, we broke above right in here in this area. And at that point, we've been, off to the races all the way back up until this kind of mess up here, right? So not the prettiest situation, but again, on the lower time frames, this was a trader setup, not an overnight or a swing trade setup. Because again, you can see that we're just kind of stuck at this 50% mark. We're just, it's just lagging, right? And again, the way that what it is forming out, it looks like it does want to retrace back down again. You could potentially take something here. Let's see. And the green's a little bit higher, so you don't you don't quite have a confirmation to take, start taking this one short. But again, what you could do is, as well, if you do want to trade this one tonight or look into this in tomorrow morning, is make this your upper time frame. Okay. Figure out where we are in trend. Again, it didn't go as high. We had a failure to go higher. We are in a selling zone. Use this for finding your zones, which were, there is a little one here, but I'd rate it very low based off the candle formation. And then you can go down to a 5-minute and look for, see if there's anything better. But unfortunately, these wicks with a high one and then 2 descending, there's better opportunities out there. And again, I typically don't like to trade these when they're sitting right at the 50% mark, and that's where we're at. Looking at the euro dollar. Let this one load. All right. Euro dollar is still technically in this downtrend setup, but you'll see that the price actually breached above this red dash. So this red dash and this blue dash are marking off the anchor. All right. Remember, as part of the strategy, we're removing the action and going back into the anchor to help us determine trend. And one of the trade setups is an anchor break. So it's come back up again. It's touched. We talked about this being kind of the trigger, the 112.82. And again, here we are now, and here's where we were last night. And we said if it got a little bit higher, if it touched the red or touched the yellow, that would be our short entry based off of this zone. And you guys can see it pulled back. I don't think the pullback was that huge, unfortunately. You're talking about a 40 pip. I did not trade this one. I did get the alert, but I was too busy to get back to a chart at that point. So didn't get any trades set off of this one. But again, you could have taken that off the yellow we did last night. If we start to get a little bit more of a turn, again, you see these 3 tops here. If we start to get some red closing down, again, there is a target back down here. I'd move this a little bit higher. I'd probably move back up in here into the 112.10 area, about 50 pips south of where we are right now. And if you were going to take a trade like that, it would be something along the lines of this, where you would basically move. Let's see how much area we got here. That's about 14. 14 is not bad, right? And then we take this and we bring this. Probably somewhere over in there. Let's see here. It's about 27. Yeah, I'd probably shoot for out here. You remember, here's the green. Remember the green line we talked about before? This would be the target. If you took the entry here would be your target. Because it, and what we talked about is we'd need to get some type of a confirmation if it didn't pop. It popped and hit, so it was fine. It gave us the confirmation at the same time. But again, we got the level basing down, and this would be like a 14 for like a 37, so not quite a 3-to-1. Again, that would be running it down to this area. Okay. Actually, we could probably shrink this to here. Let's see what we got here. 45 is better. Yeah, that would be 6 for 45. So that's probably a better setup, and I'll show you what I did here. You know what? Let's drop this down to a 10-minute. I'll mix it up on you guys a little bit. There we go. Actually, we can probably go. Yeah, I'd probably do that. I'll just grab another one real quick. Let's see, what are we talking here as far as pip goes? Yeah, it's pretty shy. So one thing that you could do on this one is, because we have there's a sell area right here, and that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's gonna turn and flip there. But if you wanted to take a shot on something small, I'd really like to see some type of a confirmation at this point that it is going to flip again. I think it's going to go higher, and I think it may run into this little area on the 10. But one thing that you can do a lot of times is you can take kind of small kind of shots on these things, a couple pips. The spread on this pair is 1.2 pips, so it's very, very tiny. Again, we are starting to kind of push out of the top of this little tiny zone right here. But if you start to get some type of a red, green, and then like a red, and it closes somewhere in here, you could establish new risk in this trade. That it gets pushed down again. I do think that this area right here, though, you guys see this area, I think this is probably what it's going to want to push up to. And that area is, it's about a 7 pip area. Okay. And again, that would confirm us with the red, the green push up, grab the wick over wick, and then push down. That would give us a bit of a better price target for this one, or a little bit better of an entry, better buy-in. something along those lines to there. And again, this would give us 7 pip risk with about 50 pip profit. Okay, so that is one potential that could go through. And like I said, it may not get up there. We got to see what it does. If it starts to turn or starts to just continue to go sideways without, grinding up to that area, again, just disqualify it. Something along those lines. But I think we can. I think if it gets wherever it starts to turn, I think it's going to push back down. There's this wick over wick here, but I think this will push. I just have a feeling that this will want to push all the way back down. I think there'll be some dollar strength talk tomorrow. Okay. Let's go down to. Oops, wrong one. What did this pair do today? It's only 63. All right, so again, stuck in this little tiny range here. Okay, we're at 84, and it seems like that's where it's holding, but again, a lot of spike back and forth. And you guys can see, in this case, again, we spiked down, we went out of the zone, and again, here we are now, and this is where we were last night. And we talked about if we got any type of confirmation because of the ascent of this one, it would rally back up again, and that's what it did. Your entry on it was right here. Okay, if you guys remember that, like I said, here's where we are right now at the 1. Okay, and this is where we were last night. Okay, and I said because this hit off an area, it went down. We don't know what's below it, but if we can get any type of confirmation, go up. Confirmations are our red, green, reds. Okay, you guys will see. I'll do this on a 30. Okay, here's your red, here's your green, red, and then kind of here's your pop here. So somewhere in this area is where you'd be looking to go long. Honestly, I think this one looks better on the 15. Yeah. Actually, no. Which one was I looking at? Now I'm confused. I had this chart up and I was analyzing this one earlier. Yeah, it was this one. Yeah, this was a 10-minute entry that we got in on this one. So this is what we're looking at. There was our risk in the trade. Okay, and then the eventual target was back up top. So it was about 75 the whole way back up to this. You guys can see here's the, here, if I extend, see this area here, how it hit once. Watch this. There's the area. You guys see what it dinged off of? Right there. Okay. So that's what we're looking for. So in this one, let's see, I'll get you guys the exact profit gain on it. About 80 pips total. And again, the risk by going down and dropping on the lower time frame, you guys can see it was about, it says 13, but it ended up being about 15. It was like 15.4 or something like that is what the actual risk total was on it. And then again, nice retrace back to the same kind of level. And again, this is kind of what the Brexit looked like, how it was going back and forth, back and forth. Again, whenever you see these big moves with no retracements and they're kind of hitting things, again, this was a trap. Okay, we talked about this one last night. Being any break below this, you're going to see it retrace because support and resistance traders are going to be like, hey, I'm jumping in now, it's going lower, let's do it. And they shorted it here, and then bam, it shot right back up. So again, that's what this was. It was kind of it was a bear trap. Okay. Where we are now, you're seeing it's not able to get back to the top. The difference between this and what we saw over here was the fact that, yes, it's one large candle in the 4-hour, but these are pretty interesting pullbacks, right? Impulse, correction, and I'm on the 10-minute. I'll do it on the 30-minute. You guys can see this a little bit better here. Okay, a little bit cleaner, right? Impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse. And then it kind of pulled back, and it didn't even get to the first kind of, I guess it ran into this impulse, but you got a real nice one here. You got a wick over wick. You got this nice, real clean pullback here. And this one is done the correct way. Down, and then obviously this wick is higher. So that's a nice one too. So there's a lot more stuff sitting in here. Problem is going to a Friday. I'm afraid that the catalyst on this one is going to dry up pretty quick. We may not get the same type of spike. I'm more willing to take these things on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday than I am going into a Friday, because again, Japanese traders are only in it for a few more hours. And again, there's no news. I think there's a little bit, hold on. There's there's a yellow news release with a guy speaking tomorrow for the pound, but that's it. So there's not really any major driving forces. We do have PPI tomorrow, but I don't think PPI is going to be able to affect this pair, unfortunately. Okay, so I don't think that this one has as much potential going into it as it is a Friday. Okay. I'm trying to think. I don't even think I would go long at this point. Or I don't even know if I would go short if it hit again, because we've had 1, 2, we've had a failure here. Obviously, there's a little bit more established orders in here, but this zone right now is basically up here. It's getting real tiny. And it's right around the 136. You guys see how it's literally right past the 136? Nah, I wouldn't trade this one probably going into tomorrow. I'd probably play one of the smaller time frame pairs, and we'll see what we got. I'm just worried that this fourth hit is going to be what kind of punches it through to test higher into here. Let's go to pound dollar. All right, so pound dollar retrace back up again. You guys will see. I can remove this. I'll just slide this over. And there you go. You can see what we bounced off of. Here was actually what our trigger was to the top side. Missed it by what? 3 pips. Okay. That was another entry area there. Similar situation on this one. The one difference though, the one difference is this one doesn't have any retests. You know that last one, how it came up here once and then came up twice the second time, and then we were here now? This one doesn't have it. So unfortunately, this is one of those ones that you're like, you got to hate, because here was our trigger. Here was our alert to go short, and it literally made it within 3 pips. So the alert never triggered to get into this one. I did not get into this one either. Again, there was my alert, and I didn't get in. And unfortunately, I think it's pushed a little bit too far. It's kind of now in a slowing pattern sideways. Now, PPI will affect this pair tomorrow, but it's pulled a little bit far away from this zone to be able to go, to go short. It did pull back, and again, on the 4 hour, if you're looking at this one, okay, you got this little area right here, and that's kind of what it pulled back. I mean, it literally, it grazed right off of it. This is how we just missed it, and it went back down and pulled right back in. So, I mean, it technically hit the profit target of what we would have kind of traded, but again, we missed the entry by a few. So, we kind of need to see what it's going to do next, if it's going to punch back up or it's going to run into some orders. The first orders that it does have in front of it is sitting right here. Whoop, not that one. Ooh, not that. Here's the first group of orders right here. Okay. So we'll see if this can grind up, grab these, and then push back down again. But again, it's got to get some space. It's got to clear out a little bit. And again, you guys can see how close we were. You guys see the wick right here? There's the wick. There's the top of the anchor. There's the kind of the descending candles. Technically, I can include that one as well, but we'll just do it off of there. Okay, so you can see we did hit it here. If we did just the body, we just missed it here, just missed it here, just missed it here, and it dropped back down again. So close call. Wah, wah, wah. Missed that one. Okay. And again, we'll let it go. New Zealand. Okay. All right. So New Zealand did pop up and then retrace back down again. We can remove, let's see. Okay, we can remove this guy. Actually, we'll just slide this guy up. Let's see what we have as far as this goes. Okay, so here is kind of the peak, the kind of turning point. Let's see, let's move this. You guys can see this as well. I'll just drag this one over. Okay. Again, just missed it here. It did it off this bottom. I wouldn't have pegged this bottom one. I would have went with the top one, so would not have made this one as well. This one I actually don't mind to the downside. It is a little bit risky going into a Friday because, again, we have PPI, which will move this a little bit. It has pushed all the way up. It has kind of bounced off, but it has pulled back. That's the kind of the crappy part about it. One thing you do have to watch out for, at least on the 4 hour, is this is the initiation of the gap. There's going to be buyers sitting there. So the real trade would have been from here back down again. Let's see. Would that have been worth it? About 30 pips. It's a 3-to-1. I don't know. This one would have been hard. I mean, it did go off of a good zone on the 4 hour. Again, we just missed it on the lower entry here. You can see on here it hit, here it hit, here it did not hit. We got a little bit too conservative. I probably, even if I was at the computer for this one, I probably would not have taken this one, just for the fact that on the lower time frame, it did not hit my entry. And again, it wanted me to take kind of that zone. Let's see, how big is that? It's about 8 pips. So it's over 1 ATR. So it's kind of a big zone for that kind of piece right there. And again, 8 for 30 is not bad, but typically you can dial it down. And I don't think I would have taken this whole zone. I feel like I would have taken kind of that in this area, somewhere in there. So again, I would have missed entry on this one. But again, wouldn't be a profit right now. It's kind of stalled. In fact, if I was in this one, I see any type of green candle that goes above here, the 66.70, I would just get out and save myself any type of retrace. Okay. So this one, I think we need to wait till next weekend, or till the weekend. Okay. Dollar CAD. So dollar CAD has pushed all the way back down. We popped off the bottom side again. Again, another support and resistance trap. And again, we're kind of back in that same level again. We're at 130.40, what? 130.50 right now. Again, psychological number. It's got a 0 and a 50 in it, so not a bad little area. It is definitely pushing lower each time. Okay, so it did form higher lows. Again, it drove, it hit, it went all the way through again. This red, green, red pushing through the zone is nice. It hit the trap, went back up, grabbed more orders, and is pushing down again. So I think that this could potentially be the push that goes is heading down. Let's see what we're getting into. This is where it starts to get ugly over here. And that's the 128. What is the PPI number expectation? Let's see. Okay, the PPI expectation is 0.1. I don't know on this one. I think we're going to get more of a push tomorrow. I think this can drive back down again, especially with the U.S. stock market going up. I think we're going to continue to push. I don't think it's going to be a huge mover. I think this one is going to be a little bit more of a grinder with a bit of a retrace. We'll see. That PPI number can move, but I don't know that they're going to have a miss, and I feel like it's already in there. This is one they typically don't miss on. Again, they've missed on it the last 3 times, and that's why I feel like we're starting to push our luck on this one. That well, I guess May and June they were good, but again, it's very, very small. Yeah, I don't feel like we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna get a miss, but if we do get a miss, I think it's gonna help us to the downside. So yeah, I think I'd definitely be a little bit more short. Problem is, it's sideways down bias, uptrend, anchor break. So I mean, everything is saying down at this point. Support and resistance traders have already been busted 1 time on it. I think when we go down, I think we'll see another little bit of a pop to the top side to see if they can snag some more traders in there before it ultimately gets somewhat of a push down. If I was taking a swing target, a longer position, again, I would have my target entering somewhere around this 130.25-ish, 130.20-ish. Again, 130 is going to act as a magnet and suck price in, but then my next target down would be 129-ish, again, because that's the next round number at that point. So nothing exciting right now. Again, we're just literally bouncing back and forth between these 2 zones. Again, a little bit of news tomorrow. So Swiss. Let's see. Oops, hold on. All right. Let's see here on the Swissy. Swiss is kind of stuck. So this is what I see. So we have this top zone again. We turned, we flipped, we went down again, but then we're sandwiched right here. You guys can see it. It hit, it came down, and then went back up again. So we're kind of in the middle, right? Here was our profit, right? It went down, it went off the zone, and went up. And again, right now, it is at that kind of 50% mark right here with the descending wicks, this push down, this sideways, and this push down again. So it is in an area where it's supposed to be. It did, the descent was very, very fast. And again, this, thank you, POW, and interest rates and everything else. So I don't know if you guys caught this today, but Trump made one tweet today about how I guess the China is not upholding their side of the bargain. But unfortunately, everybody was so stuck on the interest rate things, they only mentioned it for a little bit. If he comes and brings more rhetoric about that tomorrow, this will send this right back down again in somewhat of a retrace. The movement, though, is it's about 50 pips to the downside, but I'm not a huge fan of that area, though. It's in the right area. Again, I just don't love this pair that much. Being in 50% of this retrace, I'm probably just going to let this one go. But again, you could play it to the short side if you were going to set this up. I'm not going to take it, but if you guys are interested, this would be kind of a setup for it. Your risk on there would be what? About 6 pips. Your profit targets. Things that you're looking for is there's a potential target. And you made a little bit of a bump here, but then probably in like right in there, front run the 50 a little bit. That's probably what I would set this one up. If it was earlier in the week, I'd be all over this one. But going into a Friday, I don't know that I'd do too much more on that one. Okay, dollar yen. So this is what we got with dollar yen. This one actually went through this kind of nice little basing area. And again, hard situation because you have this big wick over here. You guys can see it on the smaller time frame, right? This bit of a pullback here. Okay, it did go through this. And again, this is why it is important to use multiple time frames again. And here's why. Over here on the 4 hour, you're like, man, that's clean, right? Red, easy green, powerful explosion out. But then you go over here, and what do you see? That green area is this kind of this sideways, just kind of junk. That's why it was green, right? This was nice, right? Very fast ascent, fast pullback, and then continuation pattern. Then it held, then it was good, and then real good again, right? But this is what the clean area looks like over here. So that's why it's important to look for wicks, because this is actually the cleaner of the two retraces. An area like this. And again, a little bit larger of an area, but you guys can see what it bounced off of. The clean one, not the kind of crappy, kind of junky one over here. And again, price is pushing back down again. So this is one too that I'd be cautious with, because again, if we're using this is the near time high and this is the near time kind of low, or the last kind of explosion, the supply and demand areas boxing either side, we are sitting kind of right at the 50 mark again. I do expect if the market continues on the path that it did today, I expect that we'll try to push back up and go back into this 108.86 area. And I think that's kind of where it wants to head. Again, good economy is good for Japan, but it's also good for what's going on here. And again, we're just seeing a retrace in the after hours. So I think we can continue to pick up steam. If we do get back up in this 108.85 to 108.95, this little 10 pip range, I would definitely be looking to go short again on it. Kind of take this back down into this, because it didn't spend much time here. This is a nice little level. I mean, it spent a little time and then 2 very explosive candles out. So I do like this zone a lot, this 107.88 to 107.76. Nice little target. So if we are able to kind of grind, and again, this is the impulse, this could be the correction move with an impulse push higher. Definitely interested in taking a short from this top side. I won't hold it over the weekend. I don't believe in holding things over the weekend, but Rob loves holding things over the weekend. I just don't feel like taking that risk. I'll close it down Friday, and if I like it that much, I'll just reopen it on Sunday. No reason to take any type of risk that can happen on Saturdays. Just my opinion on it. Okay. So again, up top, I'm good. If we go to the bottom, I may be looking to short, depending if we go into it in the morning. It's got some room to run to the top side, and ideally, what you would like is for this to run to the top or the bottom before the news. But you're talking 50 pips down. Oops, and you're talking 45 pips at the top side before we can get to one of the news releases. Now, if it just flatlines and stays here smack in the middle, then you can trade this into the 830 number. And again, if it's good or bad, miss on either side, you should see a pop up or a pop down, and then I expect it to retrace, to probably retrace back to the middle from wherever it is. So those are potentials that you can take in Nadex. If you get that pop, like I said, I think all the fireworks will happen early in the morning. It's going to happen early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Is when you're going to see most of the fireworks for the day. But again, that 830 number, take that 8:30, go with a 2 hour, go with some of the 2 hour binaries in the morning. If you're gonna play retracement on that one, or you can take like the 11 or something like that. Okay. All right, so that's it. I think I covered all the pairs for tonight. Just a reminder, there is no chart school tomorrow night because it is Friday, so I want you guys to enjoy your weekend. If you guys didn't see or didn't check the Discord channel, remember the cheat sheet is now up. So for those of you with the forex class, go in there under setups, and you guys will see that I added a link that says click here to download the cheat sheet, and it's kind of the step-by-step process of how you're setting this up. And again, you'll pick that up and you won't need the cheat sheet over time, but it's nice. It's just a resource to kind of walk you through it. If there's anything you don't understand and the language is kind of funky, let me know, and I can always make changes to it. A lot of times when you write something, it makes sense to you in your mind, but it doesn't make sense to other people. So if you read through it and it doesn't make sense, please let me know, and I will change it to make it a little bit more clear. I have to do I have to send in 2 decks tomorrow for Nadex. They have some things that they want done real quick for. So I gotta do that, but I'm gonna try to make some more additions tomorrow to the website. And I should actually have a date for Nadex webinar. If you guys want to attend, it'll be something new that you guys haven't seen yet. It has to do with an actual racetrack course. That's something I talk about all the time. You guys hear me talk racetracks. It's something that I'm going to put together for them. So it'll be something new, and I'll get you a date if I can get it tomorrow. But I got to get the deck approved first, and I told them I'd do it by tomorrow. All right. So with that being said, have a good weekend. I will see you guys Monday night at 9 o'clock. Look for if you guys get an email that says, talking about chart school, you guys are already here, but it's for the people that have not come across yet. They should be seeing that rather soon. So, with that being said, take care, guys. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you guys coming out. Any questions, go ahead and just hit me up on Discord. Take care.